So good evening, and welcome to the December 14th, 2023 meeting of the Concord Historical Commission. My name is Melissa Saulfield. I am serving as the chair tonight because our chair, Alan Bogosian, is out of the country. So we usually start by roll call, and I'm just going to call your name of just please say aye. We never quite know how to do this. So Michael Capizzi.
Aye.
Nancy Frizella Lee.
Aye.
Nancy Nelson.
Present.
I think Chessie Cataldo.
Yes, aye.
Okay, so, and Melissa Saulfield and Ryan Hanley, whoops, excuse me.
Aye.
Aye. So that is our roll call for the evening. Thank you all for being here. The first item on the agenda is the demolition delay bylaw. It's a public hearing about the Sanborn Middle School. You know, the standard for something like this is we ask the applicants to make a report, and then we discuss it and then take a vote. So I would ask whoever is presenting on behalf of the school to speak up, and it's you know, your opportunity to present.
Sure.
So I'm not sure who that is.
My name is Jennifer Susi. I'm the architect with SMMA. We're the architect for the new middle school project. So if I can share my screen. Are you able to see anything?
Yes.
Actually, it looks white.
Yes.
Okay. So you see the application here.
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is what we submitted to the commission. This is basically what we had submitted. So just as a history, you know, the town had voted to build a new middle school on the site of the existing Sanborn school site. Part of that included the demolition of the original, the existing Sanborn school. Right now, the new middle school is built on where the existing or where the original athletic fields were. And then the plan was to demolish the Sanborn school, and that will be where the new athletic fields will be constructed as phase 2 part of this project. So as part of our due diligence through the design development process, we always submit to the Massachusetts Historical Commission. They have a PNF process, so it's a project notification form. So that's our standard procedure for all of our school projects. It's essentially, if you're not familiar, I'm sure you probably are, but you know, they review projects, publicly funded, but also not publicly funded, if you know, projects such as this, just to ensure that projects, you know, are following sort of are not jeopardizing any historical archaeological sites such. So that we submitted in and I have the date here as well. We submitted that on July 19th in 2022. So their process is such that, you know, if you don't receive a notice within 30 days, the project can plan as proceeded. So we went through the 30-day procedure. So we did not receive anything from them in terms of the site being of anything that they would consider. Yeah, not to say that it's not historic, you know, we'll discuss that, but so that was the process that we went through. But just to give you a little bit of oversight, we included in our submission photographs of the existing school. I think there have been some site visits there as well.
And you've submitted, these images are familiar. Yep.
Yep. And we submitted these are the existing building plans that we had received from the district. So these are some of the original plans that we have as PDF files. So we included that in the submission as well. And then also the new site plans. So you can see where the new building is sited and where the original or the existing Sanborn School is up on the north eastern part of the existing parcel. So I would be happy to, if there are questions, concerns, to discuss anything further.
Well, fine. I would just open it up to, I mean, I have my own position, but I'd like to open up to the members of the commission. I think we all are very well aware that the town meeting has already voted funds. This has been a long process, very publicly vetted, to build a new middle school. In fact, it's well underway. I mean, it's pretty impressive construction going on there on Old Marlborough Road. So I would open it up to members of the commission to speak on behalf of their position, whether or not we should impose a delay or let the demolition proceed. So if you want to open back up, Anna, and back to the gallery view.
Yeah, I can stop sharing actually.
I think it would be.
Yep.
So,
right. And just for clarification, the commission is just reviewing whether the structure is preferably preserved or not, right?
Yeah. So if it, thank you.
Okay.
There aren't any comment. Should I speak? I'm Michael.
Sure. Yes.
As you know, I forwarded communications to all of you over the last few days. So let me explain what's gone on, so there's clarity, and then let's just discuss where we are this evening. So I visited the site with Anne, and I walked around the building with her. It certainly looked like a unique structure, but I needed to verify it for my own edification. So I contacted the building department and I asked if they had the original drawings of the school. Well, actually, let me rephrase it. I called, I left a voicemail to the commissioner, no one got back to me. I called again, no one got back to me. A week and a half went by. Finally, staff person did answer the phone, and she verified that they had the drawings offsite at a warehouse, and it would take 2 days, and she would get back to me so I could look at them. 2 days later, I called, no one got back to me. I walked into the building department, introduced myself, and I said I'm on the commission, and I did a site visit, and I just needed some background on the school. And they said, oh, you have to talk with the Mr. Hughes at the school facilities department. So I contacted him for 3 or 4 days. He did not get back to me. I went over there and I asked if he was there, and somebody got him, and we sat down for about an hour, went over many things. However, he did not have the drawings, but said they would be available. I said, geez, I believe that this school was designed by Walter Gropius, but I have no documentation for that. So I contacted the Gropius house in Lincoln, where my daughter worked for a while, and they got back to me and directed me to speak to Perry Neubauer, who was the president of the Architects Collaborative for many years. I reached out to him, and he was not familiar with the school. Mr. Hughes, so I said, well, geez, I believe that the school's facility department is going to forward me a PDF with the construction drawings. May I forward them to you so you can see them? He received them, but could not open the PDF. So I simultaneously got in touch with Carissa Demore, asked her if she had any insight about the school and was it a Gropius school. And she said she'd look into it, but she was happy to come and look at it. I said, well, the school's closed Saturday and Sundays. That's great. If you're around on the weekend, maybe we can just drive by and look at it. And she said, I'll look into, what references I can. both Perry and Carissa called me and said they couldn't make it until Monday. I contacted Mr. Hughes, told him Monday would he be available to show the construction drawings to Perry, who was the former president of the Architects Collaborative, and Carissa Demora, and he said yes. So Monday morning, prior to that, I called the school. I spoke to Vanessa in the principal's office, I believe, and I said, I'm at the Historic Commission, and we have a demolition request, and I have a gentleman, I believe, he's in his early, at least late 80s, and just wants to, he can't open the PDF and wants to at least look at the front of the building. But clearly, you don't want to infringe upon any children coming out of the school. She said, well, the children take a break from 10:07 to 10:17, and then again 11 at 11:07, and then later 11:07 to 11:17. I said, good, then if at 10:30 we're there, can we look at the facade of the school? Yes. That morning I drove there, I immediately got a call from Mr. Hughes, and he said, Michael, Ms. Dowd, the CFO of the town, would like to join you looking at the school. I said, great. So Carissa showed up, Perry showed up. Perry is somewhat disabled, get out of his car, he had a walker. And Miss Dowd showed up. She explained that she had been very active with the school, putting it together. So let me know. Yes.
The point of this is well, first of all, was Alan aware of your visit? That's number one. He's the chair, and you need to go through the chair and make sure that Ann is also notified. Secondly, this is about the historic importance of the building.
Right.
Can you just move on?
Okay, sure. I'm sorry. Yes. So anyway, we looked at the school. We went over and looked at the drawings. And it's been confirmed that Walter Gropius was involved at that time when the school was designed.
I believe he died in 1969. The school was built in 1968. So it was at the very end of his career.
Right. So sure. So anyway, they forwarded their information to me and I forwarded it along. So it's certainly my thought that a delay should be issued while this is researched.
Well, thank you for your comments. Are there other comments by members of the Historical Commission? Nancy Frizella Lee.
Sure, I'll comment. So first of all, my son went to Sanborn. I did a little teaching there myself. And I have visited the Bauhaus in Germany. I'm very familiar with Bauhaus work and Walter Gropius. Maybe Gropius was involved. That would be interesting, very interesting to know. I agree. But as far as I understand, I don't know a lot about that firm, and I don't, it was he may have checked in. I doubt that he designed the building. But again, we should look into that. I really would not support a delay. I don't think that it's going to lead to anything. The idea of reusing the building is going to be, it needs repairs. It's going to be very expensive. The plant, this has been well thought out over many years. They need playing fields. And I think in the end, it's going to be demolished. Even if we waited a year, I think we can still do that research. We can document the building. I think we should. We can document, provide full photographs, full documentation, which will be, again, useful to know and useful for the history of the town. And Gropius lived in Lincoln. That house is open. But I don't think saving the building, I don't think it's going to have a purposeful use. It would detract from the new building. The new building's already started, and that's just my opinion. I'm interested that I think that's exciting that we had a Gropius building in our community, but I don't think at this point it's merited to save for even a year. I think it's going to get in the way.
Ryan, Chessie, Nancy, yep, Nancy Nelson.
I would just say I was actually astonished Michael, to see something come across my desk late this afternoon. I haven't read it. I haven't downloaded it. I would remind everybody here, I guess I saw, actually, sorry, I saw your earlier correspondence with Cassie from Historic New England, Carissa, sorry. I think I'm absolutely astonished that this is coming up at the commission when this school has been in planning stages for years. So I'm very interested in documenting the building. When I went by and looked at it, I was reminded of my schools in California, because the influence of this school of thought went far and wide and influenced educational buildings nationwide and maybe beyond. But in this case, I think we are so far down the road, which was acknowledged by Carissa from
Historic New England.
Historic New England, sorry, in her letter. And I don't support delaying the construction or delaying this building. I'm happy to know about the specific forms that should go to Mass Historical. It seemed like Jennifer maybe addressed that already, that they did. So it might have been good to have found that out first before you went down this road. But I'm very disappointed to learn about it today.
I have a comment to this. I want to verify that I did not set up a site visit. I set up a visit so a gentleman could see the front of the building. Okay, I did not set up a site visit, but let me keep going.
But it ended in the production of a preliminary investigation report.
So
And
listen,
sure, people might be surprised to think they were listed as attending a meeting of the preliminary investigating committee.
okay, again,
Also,
they did, excuse me, they did review the drawings with me at the school department, just to verify, because he was the president of the company when this was around, just to look at it. But I hear all this. I can't understand the reaction to being upset that we've determined, or maybe everybody has known this, that Walter Gropius's firm, and maybe he was involved in designing the building.
Maybe.
We don't know
Well-
about him. We do know that his firm was involved, that I think that has been established by the architects. They did their
Right.
own work. They did submit
Right.
this to the Mass Historical Commission. I would also like to
Okay.
point out that we do have protocols and procedures that
Right.
when you go and represent yourself, you're supposed to, check in with the chair.
That-
Just a common courtesy.
Just so you know, the chair knew,
I,
although it may not be, the chair knew that I was looking into this matter because he asked me to do it.
well,
The
He's
chair
not here.
asked me to do it.
we can't answer that because he's not present.
I
So
understand.
I'd like to proceed with other members of the commission and your position about
Right.
the issue at hand, which is whether or not we should find this building preferably preserved.
Yeah, I'll comment just very briefly. I think both Nancy's spoke well. I mean, the fact is this is a very well-developed $110 million project that's multi-year here. The architects did their due diligence by going for the Massachusetts Historical Commission, which did not find a preferably preserved status for the building. I do think that it's of great interest that the possible involvement with Gropius. So I think documentation is essential, but I don't know that there are any architectural historical features that rise to the level that we would want to put a one-year delay on.
Thank
I hear
you.
it.
Chessie, did you have a comment?
Just to say that I agree with everything that both Nancy said and Ryan just summarized. I think it's really important here that I think the town has spoken. There are many times when, we are trying to represent the best interests of the town, for things that maybe everyone's too busy to focus on, preserving a particular historic house or something that, just is not going to get this kind of attention. But in this case, we've had a townwide vote. It's been the subject of many years of discussion. And I think it would be a big mistake for the commission to try to get involved at this point, and become a roadblock to what's already well
Right.
underway.
Well, I don't see what the roadblock would be. The school is not going to be completed until 2025. What's supposed to go in place of the existing school are fields. The school is going to be open next year, and children will be going next year. So this gives us time to do at minimum what Carissa mentioned in terms of the documents and everything else, and at maximum determine that. Now, my understanding is that the site does have 38 some odd acres, and a field that would possibly go here might be able to go somewhere else on the land. So it isn't that the building is going to be up for the next year. It's going to exist for the next year. The school's not going to be closed. So it seems to me at minimum, it's going to be there anyway. So if we issue a delay and the year goes by, they will still be able to take the building down when the school year ends in a year to be able to build the fields in concert with the new school being complete, because the new school is not going to be complete until 2025 is my understanding. So
Thank you for all your comments. Are there other comments from those in attendance in the meeting this evening? Lori Hunter, yes. Hi, hello, Superintendent. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us. I just want to state the plan is very thoroughly laid out and has been for almost 5 years now. The immediacy of which we're going to move over to the Sanborn building and start preparation for demolition is very, very soon after the occupancy of the new building. It's tied into absolutely everything from the budget I just made with utility costs for three buildings online all the way to the actual implementation of the fields. So I appreciate your comments here tonight. I just want to state that there isn't really wiggle room in the timeline. It will all add up to money that we have already budgeted and played out for. So thanks for your time and thoughtfulness tonight. We're appreciative.
well, we certainly don't want to hold up the new school. So if in fact that it is, then certainly we don't want to see a delay that's going to, if the fields can't be relocated, then obviously, it is what it is and we're at.
Yeah, there is no other relocation. That site is incredibly sloped and has been a really big challenge for the design teams from day one. So the fields have to go where Sanborn is. There's no question.
Well, if that's it, then I'll withdraw my, if that's exactly where we're at, then certainly I'll withdraw my recommendation for a delay.
Thank you. Well, with that, would somebody like to? Yes.
I have one more comment.
Oh, yep.
I have one more question. Michael, I'm mostly concerned by the way that you involved Historic New England and TAC in this investigation without consulting with the chair. You said you have, but we
yes, I was. Let me make this clear.
Just a minute.
Yes.
I don't think that should ever happen that way again. It is. I just think that's not the way to do business.
Well, first of all, I let it be known to Alan that he contacted me. He said he wanted me to do the site visit. He was directed. He said, we need to save this school. Okay, I want to make that clear. I said, okay, I'm happy to look at it. And I looked at it. And then I said, when I went to the building department, do you have the drawings just to look at?
You don't need to hear that.
They initially said yes, and then they didn't have them. So then I contacted them.
You've already told us.
I think we need to have the chair talk. We can't presume what he said, and I don't.
I understand.
So what I would like to move now is to a vote whether or not this building is preferably preserved, or we can allow a demolition to go forward. Would someone please make a motion?
Okay. Nancy, you're muted.
You know, I just need someone to make a motion. After that, I think we do have, I don't know, contingency is the right word. You know, it is standard practice for us when we allow a building to be demolished, that we require that full documentation be made and that be deposited to the special collections of the library. And that includes drawings, photographs. I think you have your initial submission to Mass Historical, probably we would want all of that. But I think we would also like contemporary photographs, both in and outside the building, which your architects may already have. But that is always a requirement for a building that we allow to be torn down. So with that understanding, I would like to move to a vote whether or not we would say that the building is perfectly preserved. So maybe I'll just ask, I've made a statement. So Nancy Nelson?
I think Nancy Frisella Lee had her hand up.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to make the motion, but was that
Okay.
the motion? I mean, that's fine. Is that your motion?
Yeah.
Go ahead. If you've got the language, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Melissa. Were you
Yeah,
making?
Yeah, so if you would just second, so I need a second.
I second it, yes.
Okay, so those who favor that the building should be preferably preserved, that would be a yes. So it's yes or no. Preferably preserved, Nancy Nelson.
Preferably preserved, no.
Ryan Hanley,
No.
Nancy Frisella Lee,
No.
Michael Capizzi,
Well, at this point, if they can't relocate a site for the athletic fields, then clearly the building shouldn't be saved.
so that's a no.
Yes.
So, and Melissa Sawfield, that's a no. So the demolition can move forward. And again, with the provision that full documentation is submitted to, and it's nice that right here tonight, we have Emily Smith, the director of the library, and Anka Boss is here somewhere, who is the, there you are, special collections curator. So again, this is what we always require. And I do think it's worth pursuing to find out the extent of involvement that Walter Gropius had on this project. But again, it was the very end of his life. So that it would be worth. So I appreciate the folks from the school department and the architects here this evening for your presentation and for your work. And I just have to say, my two boys went to the school, and it's too bad that they won't have the joy of seeing the new school, because it was a tough. And I feel like, as Nancy Nelson said, my junior high school looked an awful lot like Sanborn. So.
In California.
I know, I was in Colorado.
us.
So, no, I think you're right, Nancy, that it would be interesting to know the history. It spawned a lot of lookalikes around the country.
Yeah.
Many of which have probably been torn down. So thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Take care.
we are going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is from Emily and Anka about the a couple of community projects. First, about the library and the oral history program, which we work with the library. And I just to say that about a year ago, I think, Emily and Anka, I talked with you and Nate Smith, who is the archivist for the town, to talk about how we could coordinate on an oral history program. And you're here tonight to present some of your thoughts about what would be the next move, correct?
Thank you. I'll start off. I'm Emily, I'm the library director, and we have been working on digitizing and transcribing about 400 oral histories with some CPA funding, and Anka's going to go over the update on that. But what I wanted to talk to you about was just to let you know that we have about $5,000 annually allocated in the library's operating budget to support the ongoing oral history project. And Anka and I work closely with Nate Smith, the archivist for the town, on how that money will be spent. We spoke with Melissa on making more of a formalized procedure and process for that, whereby we come to you all with our suggestions for who should be interviewed next, have an intake form for folks from the community to suggest who should be interviewed. And we're still working on that, we promise. We're right now focusing on catching up on digitizing those histories we already have, So what we're here to let you all know is that we're planning to use about half of our money for this year to finish up the transcriptions for the oral histories we already have. The CPA funding only got us so far, and we have just a bit left. So that is our plan for the first half of the money. And then we hope to come back to you in the spring with some suggestions of who we'd like to interview and digitize the material of those transcriptions as the second half of the money that's in the library's budget. So you'll get to see us again soon. And I did want to let you know that a part of these oral history art project, it does support our mission at the library to both support inclusion and access, that we do want to diversify the stories that are being captured in Concord. So that is one of our goals, and getting a broader audience to suggest who should be interviewed is one of our goals, something that Anka and Nate and I are brainstorming on. How do we increase that? That was one of the concerns Melissa asked about. And that is something we've been doing a lot of thinking on. So we're not ready yet to give you guys here's what our suggested process is, but we are hard at work thinking and planning, and we will be back to give you our suggested process and who we think should be interviewed for the remainder of this year's money. I wanted to hand off to Anka so she can give you an update of where we are on the CPA funding that we've been working so hard on. Anka?
Sure. Thank you for having us. So I wanted to first say thank you to the Concord Community Preservation Fund for funding this amazing project. As you know, the Concord Oral History Project has been active since the mid-70s, and the project has interviewed close to 500 Concordians during that time. And Renee Gerlich was the primary lead in that project, but others were involved. And I just wanted to make a shout out for Bill Bailey, who interviewed about 60 individuals in his quest to document newer immigrants to Concord. And so the oral histories are phenomenal. And again, there were about 500 individuals interviewed. Of those 500 interviews, when I commenced my position here at the library and did an inventory of this project, I realized that of those 500 interviews, only 100 of them had been digitized and had been put online. The remaining interviews were still on cassette tape. Now, cassette tapes are, as a master, perfect if preserved well. We will always maintain those cassettes. They will always be in storage, and they are still considered the master for this project. But to make them more accessible, we had to migrate them to a new format so we can make them available on our website. So that was the request that I made for funding, and we received $22,841 to fund this project. And the project that is nearly complete was, at this point, we have digitized 600 audio files with a vendor here in Massachusetts. And we have also hired a company to do verbatim transcriptions of all of those oral histories, which is really the standard in the archival community, that you don't summarize the oral histories, although that is also a nice outtake or deliverable, but you want to have a verbatim description. So when you're listening to the oral history, you can read the actual conversation. It is also, again, considered best practice in the field to allow very broad access to these oral histories, because to create transcriptions to reach those that may be hearing impaired, where listening to oral histories may not be an option. So again, having both an audio, and for those that are vision impaired, to have the audio. So by having both formats, again, is a really important goal to make them accessible. So again, at this point, all 600 audio files that were digitized, and we have them all stored in special collections. And we're talking several terabytes of storage. And the transcription is, again, nearly complete. We, again, have expended all of our CPA funding we need an extra I believe, $2,777 to finish the remaining transcription. And really, that is because the audio tapes, a tape has a certain length, but we found that the various tapes that we had were by different manufacturers. We didn't always know the length of each audio, even if, if an audio tape is 30 minutes long, the interview may have lasted 20 minutes. So we did an initial, did an initial inventory, but it wasn't going to be our time to listen to all of them, all the tapes, which I actually don't want to do, because you actually, unless you're working with a professional company that is digitizing them, taking a tape that was produced in the late 70s or early 80s and putting it in a tape recorder means that it may get eaten. And you may have all had that wonderful experience in your car or in a tape player. So we literally inventoried all the tapes, numbered all the tapes. We created spreadsheets that we forwarded to the vendor, who then digitized them. So again, all the digital files are now in-house. And we are now, receiving the transcription, and we have almost all of them. But because some of the length of the tapes were not known to us, there's more audio than we anticipated. Finally, and this is a discussion I've had with Emily and Nate about moving forward in making these tapes available and accessible, especially the transcriptions, is that any kind of audio transcription, whether it's done through AI or a person, a real person, they are never 100% accurate. It's just impossible. And there's just too many names and too many idiosyncrasies in speech that it is never 100% accurate. So what I'm proposing for hopefully sometime starting next year, Nate and I would like to create a crowdsourcing project with Concord, which means that we will allow people to see the list of all of the interviews that have been digitized. We will, work with individuals to maybe identify who's who, or maybe it's a descendant of a family member, and we will share both the transcription and the audio file with that person, and we will then create protocol and procedures for individuals to make those corrections. And so that will allow a really wonderful way to engage the community, to learn about, generations of Concordians that may have long been silent, but aren't. So we just thought this would be a wonderful way to kind of reintroduce the Oral History Project to the community, and then, gain more interest in it, new interest in it, and again, hopefully also build enthusiasm for individuals to participate or nominate individuals that could be interviewed.
I think I love that idea. It reminds me, and we are going to get to it in a minute about the preservation plan, but when some years ago, when they worked on the master plan and documenting a lot of the houses in town, they recruited volunteers in the community, trained them, and then set them free to do that under the watchful eye of Ann Forbes. I mean, that is another project, but I totally agree. It could be a way to promote the oral history program. It is, many of you have, I'm sure, heard, what Library of Congress does, the stories that on Friday, usually it's Friday on PBS or not NPR, but they're terrific oral histories. And I have used them in my own research for doing projects and for writing grants. And last year when we presented the Preservation Awards to do an introduction for Shirley Blanca, who receives a Lifetime Achievement Award, I had to rely on her oral history. And so they are very important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, we encourage people. I talk to people, say, if you have some ideas, and I send you ideas, and I'm sure you have your little list of but to encourage people to submit to you ideas of people that they feel, or categories of people. I know one of the things that was a big project was interviewing vets, Vietnam vets, Korean vets, that I know you have a very large number of those in there too. So anyway, thank you. So
Thank you.
question. So I see, first I'm going to ask members of the commission a question, and then I'll go to the public. Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, first of all, thank you. This is a wonderful project, and I'm so delighted that this is continuing on because it's such a great resource that's already been compiled, and to think that it's going to be added to, especially in this wonderful way with the crowdsourcing. It's brilliant. Some very small things, which I'm sure you've already thought of. One is probably having, I liked the analogy with that Melissa mentioned with the historical homes inventory, having everybody out there in the field doing work, but then also having Ann Forbes check it as sort of an editorial consultant. I assume that will be built in at sort of a late stage before documents are sort of finally approved, once you sort of synthesize everything that you're getting from the crowdsourcing. So that was one question, if you have sort of editorial oversight built in. The other is, it's so wonderful that you're putting together both the in terms of digitization, both full audio transcriptions as well as I understand it, digitized audio. What's the final plan for making that available, both of those, to the public? I know digital audio takes up, as you mentioned, an enormous amount of bandwidth. So I'm wondering, for members of the general public, what will they ultimately be able to access on the library's website, special collections? Will it be only from everything from just a selection of the audio to all of the audio and all of the transcripts? What do you all envision being possible and feasible at this stage?
So currently, if you go to the special collections pages on the Concord Free Libraries website, there are 100 audio recordings currently available, along with the transcriptions. Adding another, almost 400. Yes, the library's server room and, the town server room will not be so happy necessarily to store and to manage the bandwidth of all of those recordings. So one of the discussions we're having, some of you might be familiar with Digital Commonwealth, which is a platform managed by the state. And Digital Commonwealth actually hosts many oral history collections. And specifically history or oral histories that were created using analog platforms like tapes. So for example, if you go to Digital Commonwealth, I'd be happy to share with you some examples and send you some links. So for example, you want to retain the original source material and allow people to have that experience. So, for example, if you go to Digital Commonwealth, there are several oral histories collections that were also taped, literally on tapes. And so there's a side A and a side B, which actually changes how the oral history flows, because the person who's interviewing the individual says, hold on a minute, I have to switch the tape and I have to push the button. And, the conversation stops and then conversations resumes. And so when you go to Digital Commonwealth, there are a couple projects where they dealt with the same type of source material, and they have the platform to easily manage those kinds of transitions. So that is something we're looking at. The oral histories will still be linked from the library's website. So we will provide different access points. We're not just going to send people to Digital Commonwealth. Digital Commonwealth will just be one, just one highway to get to them. But we will still provide access to them and list them and interpret them on our website. So it'll be a matter of, are they going to be stored with Digital Commonwealth? Will they be stored on a town server? So we're actually already talking, or Nate is already talking with Town IT about storing them there. Certainly storing the masters that will be stored on a town server, but also our options for linking them to the website and linking to the transcriptions. So we're exploring different options.
Just following up on your other question, I do presume, as Ryan asked, you will be overseeing, if you, the crowd that's doing some of the work here, you will oversee them.
Sure. I mean, I think Nate and I, what I'm kind of envisioning, and I've done similar smaller projects in different environments. But we will have, for anybody who we'll have a job description for the persons who are interested in doing this work. We will have a training session for those individuals, maybe one-on-one, but hopefully a group training session. We'll have it in special collections. Nate and I will present and provide people with, the steps of how to go about accessing the files, accessing how to make the corrections, which I assume we will plan on doing them a track changes type, environment, so we can see what the person is correcting, that we can then correct ourselves. So, this will not happen within a month. I mean, this will probably be, a year-long project to actually clean up all the transcriptions. Because again, it's a lot of audio files. It's hours and hours of interviews. But I think, and again, once the individuals are trained, I think we would like the option of allowing people to come into the library or into special collections and to use one of our workstations to do this work, because we can provide, the audio, access to the audio and headphones. But I think we would also like to give people the option to do this from home. So if somebody wants to do it remotely, I mean, they just have to access an audio file and access the transcription, and they should be able to do it from home. And I also think that, I don't know what the interest will be, but I hope this will be a project that this will be of interest of people of all ages. And maybe even a family project, if they're transcribing or correcting the transcriptions of, somebody that from their family. And so I don't know, I'm hopeful that people will be excited.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission before I open it? Joe Palumbo, yeah.
It's really quickly, Emily and Anka, it's been such a big resource, especially as we've been trying to do some work on 20th century history and getting ready for Asian American Pacific Islander Month, and it's been super helpful. You've probably already thought of this, but Emily, you mentioned new voices. With the work that Eric's helping us do with the Pride Committee, trying to get some voices of LGBT folks that have experienced 20th century in Concord, and especially some of the stuff that went on in the late 90s and 2000s, some great stories there. So hopefully as you find some new diverse voices, that would be if we get some in for Pride celebration, would be pretty awesome. And I can give you some ideas later.
Yes,
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, so what I do hope, and, I should be able to do this maybe within a month or two. I'm going to approach the Concord Bridge to write an article about this project, about the history of the Oral History Project, but this particular grant-funded project, and then end by talking about the future of this project and talk about, our hope to expand, the voices that are represented in the Oral History Project. And, I'll certainly, present, at that point, we will have more concrete procedures in place, and you will all have an opportunity to, comment on those before that goes live. So I won't write this article until, we can present those procedures to you and get your blessing.
Thank you. It occurs to me the birth of the Concord Bridge would be an interesting oral history project in and of itself.
That would be great idea. I'm going to write it right now.
Right. So thank you both very, very much. It is a great project, and it is fun to go listen and read, hear or read them, hear them. So thank you. I'm going to move on to the next item, which
Excuse me, I have to, yeah, I apologize. I didn't think I could make the meeting, but I did, but I have to leave the meeting now. but I understand you still have a quorum.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything to vote on. Thank you. I think everything else is just, I hope going through quickly, is just discussion.
But I'll
So-
stay just a little longer if that's okay, but I understand you still have a quorum if I
We
leave.
will, we have, yes, we
Okay.
have myself,
Okay.
Zelly and Ryan, there's
Okay.
three.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. But I'll stay as long as I can. Thank you.
Thank
So,
you all.
hi, Emily, Bianca, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. So then I'm just gonna move on. Anne, I know you're there, you are hiding behind the Concord, the North Bridge, but, the panel, about the League of Women Voters and a number of others presented about the Hanscom Field. I am on the League of Women Voters and I was sort of one of the people involved, but I was certainly not on the panel, but I can just report to you that it was a very uplifting, very informative meeting. We had a lot of people there, a lot of people online. Really inspiring words, particularly by Senator Mike Barrett from Lexington. It dovetails into the work that we have been doing, certainly led by Nancy Nelson on the Battle Road Scenic Byway, All-American Road, Route 2A, to confront the Department of Transportation and Federal Highways and their plans, and to try and moderate what they're proposing, working with the Minuteman National Historical Park, as well as the nomination of Minuteman as one of the 11 most endangered historical sites. The expansion of this possible private jet is terribly serious and it's worldwide. And as Senator Barrett said, if we are successful in thwarting this, it would make national, perhaps international news. So, stay tuned. But some of the really most important historic sites are really truly threatened. I mean, our entire, to me, our way of life, when you think about the size of a 27 hangars, how many more planes that it could accommodate. So I don't know if you have any other questions, and I don't know if any of you were there. I can't remember who all was there. If any of you sat in or listened in. No.
I'd just like to say that Concord sometimes takes a back seat when Hanscom is doing things and believes that we are a little bit off the direct line of attack or impact. And in this case, I think this is very serious and could lead to something bigger. And I agree with what you said, although I didn't make the meeting. And Save Our Heritage has done an outstanding job of orchestrating the resistance to this effort.
I hope all of you do get their emails and their updates, and there are links to an awful lot of facts, the climate facts. It's, the work that they have done over the years, but particularly on this project, is really impressive. So I want to lead into a little bit of the next item about the nomination for Minuteman National Historical Park. So I have also worked with Alan and Anna Rasmussen. So with Alan, I on his behalf, I wrote a letter from that represented all the historical commissions of Concord, Lexington, and Lincoln, and I did try to get Bedford to sign on. They didn't. When I got the letter to them, that monthly meeting had passed, and I submitted it again to them, and they said, well, the nomination has already, they've already nominated, or the deadline for nomination, is passed, so we will take no action. To which I replied, you still have an opportunity to send this letter in. The decision for the 11 most endangered has not been made, but disappointedly, Bedford did not sign on, but we did get the support of the other communities. Also, I prepared a letter on behalf of Concord 250, whose primary signatories were Gary Clayton and Rob Monroe, who are the chair and vice chair of Concord 250. And then I got 12 other historic sites to sign on, and that was sent on to the National Trust. I know that we have made at least one cut. I don't know how many more steps we'll take, but Minuteman and the Associated Historic Sites is close to being nominated again. That's what I would say. I mean, the final decision, I think, is early the winter, maybe February, March. But this also would be another compelling step in combating the plans for 2A Battle Road, as well as the expansion of Hanscom. So, as Nancy said, Concord's pretty out front on this one. They've been very aggressive.
Yeah.
Our select board, and so hopefully we'll win. But it does feel like David versus Goliath. So the next item, and we have their two principles here. So as Anne has mentioned on a number of occasions, a historic preservation plan that Anne wrote the terrific grant, and it was funded both by the CPC as well as Mass Historical. So maybe Anne, I'd let you talk about this. You're muted. Muted.
There we go.
There you go.
So I know Melissa has been dreaming about this for many, many years. And so when I first came, we got together, and this is, we put together this grant application, and this was the summer of 2022. It takes a while, of course, to, pull together the funding, and then go through the procurement process, but we're finally here. So this historic preservation planning project is just beginning now. We've hired, the town of Concord has hired Heritage Strategies, which is based in Pennsylvania. Elizabeth Watson is here from Maryland, and Peter Benton is here from Pennsylvania. The two, I think, principals of Heritage Strategies. We're so excited because they've worked on national heritage areas, World Heritage sites, or areas, I guess, and also many towns and communities all across the United States. And they could speak more to that. But also they've worked locally too with Freedom's Way National Heritage Area, and so are very familiar with Concord and surroundings to begin with. So they're hitting the ground running, which is great. And then of course they've also worked with communities like Lenox, which also has a vibrant arts community and historical community too, and Falmouth, and even Sudbury, very close. So we're just so excited to have them here. This is there are like 4 phases. We're in the first phase where it's just information gathering, but the next one is the community outreach and the stakeholder meetings, and that I think is probably going to be the most exciting part, and where everyone will get a really good chance to weigh in on where you see Concord going, what you'd like to see happen in terms of historic preservation, and then they'll be developing recommendations. We'll circulate those, and then develop the final plan. And I'm sure there's a rigorous review of drafts as well. But this is the fun part, when we are just gathering information and getting started.
I think the nice thing about this, what we've emphasized also, is a prioritization of this plan, because I think Concord has had plans in a variety of environments and long-range plans. I've lived in Concord a long time. Long-range plans get developed and then they sit on a shelf. And so we really do want a plan that we can implement piece by piece. So it creates a roadmap. So you do have your work cut out for you. Thank you very much. So I know I have met Elizabeth. Elizabeth has been here the last couple of days meeting with folks, and actually she toured our scenic roads, right?
I did.
So just
What
and
did
found
you
them
think?
and found them scenic.
What did you think?
So Anne, would you like us to say a few words then?
Sure.
Yes, that would be great.
Melissa, thank you. I have been here since Monday, and it's been great. It happened to pick a beautiful week in terms of weather, as you know. It also a good opportunity to meet several of you on the screen and others throughout the community. And I think Anka left, but Anka helped lead a conversation about the surveys that Ann Forbes had done in support of your 2001 Historic Preservation Survey, which we like. It may not be, modern, and it certainly is more of an inventory, as Ann Clifford commented today. We were at the tourism huddle at lunchtime today, so I got to meet Joe there, Joe Palumbo and others. And it's a great place to start. As I drove around the community, and the scenic roads were a great way to get me to move around. I somehow missed that Strawberry Hill Road was a scenic byway, but found it, and in fact took Ann along it today. And Ann and I spent some time this afternoon in my car just talking about issues and driving around and having a good time, seeing that Elizabeth now has the vocabulary of Concord roads, which I have to confess, when Peter and I were here starting, I think in 2013, it just never made sense to me. I'm sorry. And Nancy Nelson was there at the time. I always felt like, the park headquarters is in the wrong place. It's in the perfect place. So, it's all great. And, to see the old man's painted and some necessary landscaping. Now I can take pictures of the old man's. So there's just a lot of things to sort of get reacquainted, begin to think about, what's needed. A sense of surveys would be, what surveys are still needed? What priorities do you all want to set? What phasing would you want to undertake with some big ones, like if you wanted to do expand on some work. The Concord Museum did a mid-century modern exhibit several years ago, so you've got some context already. So, can you go out in the landscape and find things? You all looked at the Jenny Duggan development, 1960 development, which had also the architects collaborative involved, I believe. So just lots of questions about what's here, and that's our purpose in these first few weeks under the Massachusetts Historical Commission's required scope, is to look at various documentation and understand the community before we really spend a lot of time talking to the community. I think it's good prep. And I and Peter have all talked about, a modest amount of outreach, and that's actually happened kind of naturally this week. And I think more of that we'll be talking to key people who have some continuity with the longtime preservation work in Concord, which I think is a fair way of investigating some of the information. If you want, let me just say just a couple more words about what is a historic preservation plan. Heritage Strategies really started our practice almost 15 years ago, working on national heritage areas, as Ann mentioned, and Freedom's Way National Heritage Area is part of a system of national heritage areas that was inaugurated almost a year ago, December 17th, I believe it was, by the last Congress. And so, we approached historic preservation planning. Our first preservation plan was actually Asheville, North Carolina. And, Asheville has a wonderful reputation nationwide for its preservation work. You might be surprised to know that they had no plan. And what they had was a pretty good list of tasks and responsibilities in the state legislation. And that's what their plan was just following that. And so, what we came charging in to do historic preservation was the insight that it really is that survey that you guys did with Ann Forbes' supervision. That's a late example of what happened a lot in the 60s and 70s, as everybody was really excited after the National Historic Preservation Act was passed in 1966. And, memories are fading. People who were involved in those kinds of surveys, I was involved in one in the early 1980s in a landscape in Pennsylvania. The sort of knowledge of the community and its resources is fading from some of those things. You all are better off than many communities. Obviously, there's this just general consciousness of your history for good reasons. And but we still think that organizing educational outreach, appreciating historic preservation processes, appreciating the resources, helping people learn more about how to care for their buildings, all that kind of the public engagement in historic preservation is really something for the long term.
Yeah.
Another piece that you'll be expecting is simply preservation, you know, the whole National Register spectrum of things that we all know. And one of the advantages you have, I believe, is that you in Massachusetts have both a historical commission and a historic district commission. Often when we go into communities, the Historic District Commission is so overwhelmed with certificates of appropriateness and all the sort of regulatory stuff that they don't have the time to do what you all are doing and considering, you know, what are the long-term issues. You do have the demolition review responsibility outside of historic districts, with a great tool. So, you know, it's great that we have two bodies that can sort of take care of the historic preservation regulation plus the education. And lastly is what's the overlap with this historic preservation with other town planning activities, scenic roads being an interesting example in your town already that we've come across. So we have all of those sort of three buckets, if you will, in mind as we're looking at all the material and understanding things like the MBTA Communities Act and 40B, 44B, the housing by right for affordable. So lots of interesting things that you have going on that we want to see, you know, what's the intersection, you know, what expectations is the zoning setting versus what is the historic district review doing, you know, where there's overlay between the two. So lots of that. So we're looking, and the big piece for us in conversations that we're having coming up, in addition to all of those kinds of issues, is the types of community engagement you would like to see. And Peter and I are really open to talking a little bit about that tonight with you if you have the time.
Well, we have the time, folks, you know, because we have given you some preliminary stuff and, you know, kind of categorically who you might talk to. But I'm mindful that, you know, this is Concord 250, and one of the things we've talked about, I'm on one of the little committees is the gaps in our history and what hasn't been discovered, what hasn't been researched. That's an area where we need help. You know, the history of the native populations that was here, the history of the Blacks, the free slaves, you know, the people, you know, as I think I mentioned to you the other day, or maybe I didn't, but I hadn't known for so many years, and I even worked for Nancy at the Park Service. I didn't know that slaves had helped build the bridge. So stuff like that. So, you know, in addition to preservation of buildings and structures and landscapes and monuments, it is a more complete history of the town and what led to the town. So that's something I would be particularly interested in, and I don't know who, you know, I look to you to help us find out who to talk to.
Mm-hmm. We had an interesting conversation at the tourism huddle today about creating an interpretive plan. The historic preservation plan won't be creating an interpretive plan, but as I mentioned, Peter and I believe very much in interpretation and how you help the community understand the general themes and stories of a community. So we would like very much to help move that along. And I think we can have some very fruitful conversations about that. What I meant by question tonight is, you know, should we do a community survey? I mean, we've talked with Ann about some of this stuff, but I just thought about we should talk with you guys to at least let you know that we're going to be planning that. And I think Ann will be talking with you about it. Perhaps I think January is probably the more appropriate time for us to present you with any full-fledged ideas. But I think we want to do this right. And one of the things when you mentioned the Concord 250 is you guys are going to be meeting out. I think we had a little conversation.
Oh, no, you don't know Concord. If you think we're meeting out, no, this is how we live our lives.
You're living your lives in this.
This is standard practice. I've lived in Concord 40 years. I have probably been to 1 trillion meetings.
I would believe it. I would believe it. And that's great service, and it's a great way to know your community and know your folks. So how can we
Thank you.
take that, you know, in the very short amount of time that we're being allowed to have those kinds of conversations, and we want to schedule it well. We want to choose it well. We want to make sure that we market it well so that people participate in those conversations where we want broad conversations, and then maybe there's focus groups where we drill down and we talk about interpretive planning, or we talk about historic preservation techniques and historic district commission's responsibilities, those kinds of things. So we really do have a lot of conversations coming up. It's to us, it's natural to say, and maybe you've heard it before, but a good plan comes from great dialogue, and it's really the dialogue that investing in is worth doing. So your help on that will be very important.
So,
Can I just chime in? Yeah.
Right.
So, Alan and I, the chair, have talked about this, and we thought that, there is, speaking of lots and lots of meetings, but we thought that it would probably be better to hold separate meetings, dedicated completely to historic preservation planning during the day. So we could, have our regular historical commission meetings, on Thursday nights, once a month at 7 p.m., but then find a time during the day, maybe on a different week, and I'm just wondering if that would work for you. So there would be basically 2 historical commission meetings a month. One is dedicated to historic preservation planning during the day, and then another one is our usual meeting, on Thursday nights at 7. Just because there's, so much we have to accomplish, and I don't think we can do it all, during our regular meetings.
yeah, no. So are you asking, I mean, those would be public meetings, right? So we would be,
Yes.
it would be, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's a thought, and we can follow up with you on that, when Alan is back too. Yeah.
Good idea.
But-
Good
I mean,
idea.
I know it's a big ask for all of you to give more time, but hopefully time during the day isn't as tricky to come up with as time during at night. I would hope,
and looking at our professor, and he probably won't be able to do that much.
no.
You're muted out, Ryan.
Time at night is hard enough to find, as a know from my absences, but time during the day is almost hopeless. But I would certainly do what I can, because I'm very eager to see this come to fruition. Also, now that I do have my mic off, may I just say that reading your preliminary materials are wonderfully impressive, and it's great to have your credentials and your knowledge base. I will say, as somebody that spends way more time than he should reading historic structure reports in his free time, I would love to see, if you don't mind sharing, I'd love to see the work that you've done with your historic preservation reports for especially similar communities in Massachusetts. I was thinking of Sudbury and Lenox in particular. If those are, I assume those are public documents. If you're able to forward those along, partially because I just love to have bedtime reading, but I really would love to see your work at this stage.
Well, we can send you the links, definitely. We'll send them to Anne, and Anne can spread it out to all of you. And I think it's best for us to work with you through Anne. So she
I saw Peter shaking his head too.
Yeah, the links for all the plans are online through the communities. We can also provide them to you with a Dropbox link or something like that. They're big files, can't really send them. We have other stuff too that we can send you that's great reading. But I would underscore that, well, while I've got the mic, I'll underscore a couple of things. One is that we're working to the Massachusetts Historical Commission scope. And while they have flexibility, and actually, I think we built some trust so that we can manipulate that a little bit if we want. But it is the Sudbury plan that we did and the Beverly plan that we did. They're like 280 pages, and there's a lot of redundance and repetition because of the way their scope works. And so we hope just kind of streamline that and have a more action-oriented document that really gets down to what we need to say, and would actually be better reading. So we can provide you with a whole variety of different kinds of documents. I would also like to underscore, Elizabeth mentioned the idea of focus groups, and that I feel that's a really useful way to engage with different interest groups within the town. And, we'll be looking to you, we'll have some ideas of our own, but we'll be looking to you to, maybe put together 3 or 4 focus groups in different areas of interest, whether it's tourism, business, whatever. And certainly the historic groups. And we had a really successful venture with that in Lenox, where we were working with arts communities and history groups and business groups, and they were really lively and really engaging. They really engaged the various, in that case, mostly art sites, but also historic sites in the preservation plan, but also with the town as a whole. And then finally, I would also underscore what Elizabeth mentioned about coordinating with other boards, commissions, and committees. I view the Historical Commission's role and the Preservation Plan role is to be supportive of the town meeting and the town interests. And so we like to really ground our plans in the town's master plan and really pick out the places within the issues and opportunities and actions that the master plan envisions, and figure out how historic preservation plays a role. And we usually try to emphasize, rather than historic preservation and technicalities of National Register, stuff like that, we try and emphasize community character. Everybody understands community character. And so we take a landscape approach, and knowing that the landscape is constantly evolving, knowing that the history and the resources are constantly evolving. And so I would just underscore again, in the second phase of the project, we really try and engage with the other boards, commissions, and committees and understand what they're dealing with, what their interests are. And as you mentioned, there are so many meetings going on. And actually, I went online today and I think I looked at the list of agendas, and I couldn't, there were so many different entities. I couldn't, sheesh. It's a lifetime. And so our job is really to really be supportive of what they're doing and coordinate what your interests, how your interests and our historic preservation interests really inform their activities too. And so there can be collaboration and sort of coming to mind. So with that, I'll step back.
That's great.
Thank you. Yes. Well, welcome to Concord.
We've been there. And what's really interesting to us is that when we were doing the management plan for Freedom's Way, is that we were primarily focused on the interpretive resources, the early colonial resources, the Revolutionary War, and then, the transcendentalists and so on, and the authors. And so now, we have to expand our own understanding of Concord into those other topics that you're alluding to, especially those smaller ones that sort of fit, get hidden. But, suburban development, how, early 20th century suburban development, because you're a train station community, you're a commuting community, what are the resources and the, sort of community benefits or community character relationships with those other histories and stuff like it. Even the Sanborn School you're talking about today, or things like that, getting ahead of it, understanding what the resources are. And so that, when you're faced with problems like, we're addressing tonight, that you're, prepared in advance and, can work with the town on those. Anyway, thank you.
You're echoing a conversation we had yesterday, Ann and I. Yeah.
Good.
Questions?
I have a question. I didn't know you were going to be at this meeting tonight. When is the next time that you're going to meet with us? Because I saw that on our schedule, but I didn't, I guess I wasn't prepared to ask you questions, and I do have some questions for you. So I'm just wondering when you're going to come before our commission next.
Well, we will try to attend all your commission meetings. But what we were discussing earlier, Anne was discussing, was the idea of adding another meeting for you that
Right.
would strictly for you to just, we'll be there for that meeting, will be the Historic Preservation Plans meeting, and no other things on the agenda. So we'll have plenty of time to talk. We're certainly open to any comments you want to send, even now. We're just, all ears. This is
useful for us to have some email contacts so that we could, rather than spend time in a meeting. Or
You send things to the staff and to the chair, and then I'm the funnel, right?
Okay, perfect.
We're happy to talk with people one-on-one too.
Okay.
In the second phase of the project, part of that is actually, in-person interviews, which now we do mostly by Zoom. And sort of all our communications will be shared with Anne and Elizabeth and me at least. So
Great.
the three of us are sort of coordinating. We'll be doing everything together when we're doing stuff online.
Great,
Okay.
It's an exciting project.
exciting. It's
Yeah,
really
thank
exciting.
you to be all
Thank you.
organized. So, are there any other questions? Otherwise, we could move on and to, well, I went to rethinking historical markers survey update. I'm not sure what that is.
So
Me.
sorry, there was one other piece, and this is actually something that we hope you could vote on.
Oops, I'm sorry.
As a part of
Oh,
the
I'm
Historic
sorry.
Preservation Plan update, we were going to talk about membership and alternate
I'm
membership.
sorry. Yes, I
Right.
forgot that right here. So, some of you, any of you read the legislation that created historical commissions, chapter 40, section 8D. In it, it says that the commission shall consist of not less than 3 nor more than 7 members. That's one thing. It also says that alternate members may be appointed in like manner or as provided for in this section, not exceeding in number the principal members. So what I believe Alan, and he said I could speak to this, Alan would like to see is that we have 5 full-time members. We would like to start an expansion by extending to 5 alternate or associate members. And right now we only have 2, I believe. Nancy Nelson and Chessie Cataldo are associate members. So he is actively, and you should too, be thinking of people you might want to encourage to put in their green card who could be appropriate members for the Historical Commission. I hope I'm characterizing that right. I did talk to Alan about this. Because there's a lot to be done, and being an associate member, it allows people an opportunity to kind of understand the role of the Historical Commission, and then maybe figure out a way along with the chair to carve out an area where they can be a little bit more intensify their focus. That right, Anne? I mean, I'm sorry, I kind of over that, but I think some of you
we actually have the text here too, if you wanted to. So Alan has spoken with Henry Dane, and I guess this is not something that needs to go to annual town meeting.
Yeah.
This is just something that can be done at a regular select board meeting. So the whole administrative code will be looked at over the course of the year as part of the planning project. This is what plans do, right? But we thought we'd begin with the membership, because this will be an intense year, and I think the more people the better, looking at this. So let me
yeah,
share
so
the screen.
some of you may remember we have looked at this administrative code. What Anne is showing you is the very top portion of it. So this is proposed new language, and again, Alan did talk to Henry. Henry said there's no reason we can just move forward on this.
But this doesn't present the option for expanded membership, right? I'm not
Well,
seeing.
Not
that's
full membership, but it expands the alternate membership.
Well, there are different kinds of membership, and I don't see the other kinds of membership here. So should that be here?
So it says,
Am I missing it?
yes, do you see my screen?
Yeah, but I'm having a hard time reading it.
Oh, okay, so the Historical Commission shall have
5
5 members
Yeah,
appointed by the town manager,
yeah, I got that.
right? Alternate members may be appointed in like manner, not exceeding in number the principal members for 1-year terms.
Oh, there it is. That's not exceeding the principal members. Okay, so
And this is language taken right out of Mass General Law regarding
okay.
the historical commissions.
Might be for people like me, you might say AKA associate members.
yeah. So I don't know the history of why we say associate, because the legislation says alternate.
Or alternate members, that's fine. Okay, I just have to shift. Never mind.
Yeah.
No,
mean,
that's great. Thank you. And that's posted, Anne, on our page?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
So,
recall, well, that, you know, we, the last time we looked at this administrative code was some time ago, and it was sent off to the town manager to look at, and you know, it was all during COVID, and it all, I think, got lost in the shuffle, frankly. And then we started working on the demolition delay, the scenic roads bylaw, and this is just sort of
I
language.
do have those changes, those proposed changes stuck in the back of my notebook. So
Yeah.
I'll bring it forward. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just make sure that I'm not sure that I quite understand this. So it says the historical commission shall have 5 members. Does that mean 5 full members, or are we going to right now we have 3 full what I call full members.
No,
No.
we have 5. We have 5.
I mean, what I'm saying is, of our 5, 3 are voting members and 2 are the associates, right?
No, no, we have 5.
Okay, sorry, I am getting confused then. Okay, so we're staying with that and we're just increasing our number of associates.
Alternate members or
Alternates.
associates.
Sorry, so it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
So
that's
right
what I
now-
was trying to clarify too.
Yeah, right now we have 2 alternates, Nancy Nelson and Chessie Cataldo, so we can expand to add 3 more.
And the staggered 3-year terms. So every member has 3-year terms, but that can be renewed. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay.
right, according to APP number 10, Town of Concord APP number 10, which is a policy, they typically allow 2 terms, right? So 2 3-year terms.
Okay.
However, if you can petition for an additional term, which is actually what I did.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And you-
lots of people do that for certain reasons. If you have specific expertise, I think is the biggest reason to extend for longer than normal.
Or if, you know, so that's allowed. You do have to go to the select board for that.
And when we look for these members, I would like to propose that we put this in the Concord Bridge, so that we're opening it up to all community members and not just choosing
Sure.
people that we know. I hope we
That
do.
actually has been something we've done in the past for many years. It's been, an article has been submitted, you know, to say the Concord Historical Commission is actively looking for candidates to become new members.
Okay, great. And the other question I have, it says the commission elects a chair and a clerk. We don't have a clerk.
Yeah.
And today I just learned that because I was concerned that our minutes are late. You know, we're going to look at review minutes from June, for example, and my short-term memory is really poor. So you know, I would hope that in the future we can increase that, so that, because it's just hard to remember, and to go, you know, I can go back and look at my notes, but I just wish that we would be more timely with that. Are we willing to elect a clerk to take minutes? Isn't that the clerk's role?
I think that's why you don't see a clerk,
Why?
because that's a hard job. Ask Ann.
And
No one's asked if anyone wants to do it, so at least we should ask the question.
Well, yeah, that's fine to ask a question.
You know,
I have a terrible record myself in another committee that I chair, so I can't speak to this.
I'm a member of our local historical commission, and we rotate the responsibility. We have a secretary, but because of the burden that you're speaking of, we rotate it among the members. So we each take a month.
actually, I have proposed that in the past, and it went nowhere. It's true.
But we are members. I mean,
I actually,
I'm not volunteering to do it because I'm doing a lot of research already on the monuments and markers. So it's not something that I want to take on, but I just feel like
That's the problem right there.
we're outsourcing it. Yeah, but we haven't asked anyone. My point is, you know, maybe.
well, it has come up, and no one has volunteered. And I have suggested we rotate it. I do know it's a real burden. Anne has 3 committees she supports. And I mean, supports isn't even the right word, that she's actively engaged with.
I know Anne's too busy to do that. I'm not asking Anne to do it.
So that,
It's members.
And I should just note
take
too that
me.
it's been a tough year. You know, the planning, when I first arrived here, the planning division had 6 employees, and we're currently down to 3. So, you know, we're really, really strapped. And so I know you hear about this every month, but we are short-staffed. And so when it comes to minutes, the town of Concord, and it's not just the planning division, but other divisions have had to send out the recordings and you know, hire someone to do, you know, the first pass of minutes, and then staff does do the review and the edits before they come before you. So that also accounts for the delay, because yeah.
Are the videos still posted
Yeah.
after the meeting?
Yeah, but they have been like, even then, because I went to look back I went to look back for one, and and I couldn't find it. You know, weeks after
I've
meeting. I don't know when are they, you know, how close to the meeting are they posted?
Soon.
They get sent to you know, to the network right, immediately, like the next day. And so it takes them time, you know, we're all human here, right? So it just takes them time to get it posted and do their editing and whatever they need to do to get it up online on YouTube.
Yeah. I'm a little reluctant to take this on. I think I'm going to ask Alan to handle this one,
Yeah.
because I'm only acting tonight. But I think, to me, the fairest thing is for us to rotate. And with what Peter said, because that's what I have done in other boards that I've been on. But I am going to defer to Alan on this to bring it up next month.
Right, and what about the administrative code? Do you want to vote on this part tonight, or wait till next month on this part?
Well, do we need a vote? I thought Alan.
I think you should.
We
Yeah.
do need a vote on the administrative.
Okay, well, so do I have a motion to
Wait for
adopt?
Alan, I think.
We don't have to wait for Alan. I don't want to handle the question of a clerk. So I'm deferring on that one. But we could take a vote on the new language for membership of the Historical Commission.
But that includes the clerk. Are you saying you don't want to talk about the clerk? I think the chair, actually, I think the chair should be here for a change in the administrative code. I don't know what other people think.
Well,
But
okay.
I do just want to note that the words "the commission elects a chair and a clerk," that's in Mass General Law. So that's not something.
Maybe we want to eliminate the word clerk. If you know, if you're saying, since I've been a member all this year, that's never come up. So for 1 year, we haven't discussed that. I don't disagree. It's not a great job for people to have. So, you know, unless we would take turns, maybe we do want to outsource it. Maybe that's the practical thing. But in that case, I think that we should eliminate the word clerk.
Didn't Anne just say it's in the law?
Oh, well then. Okay, then we can't.
Well, I was on the Historical Commission 20 years ago. They didn't have a clerk then. And I've been on it now 6 years, and we've never had one since I've been on it.
Right.
Right. I think I think it was in Waltham where you know, it's just and actually I think HTC has a clerk technically, but that person, you know, they sort of really dig into they're the ones who read the minutes most carefully when they're first posted, but they don't actually write the minutes.
Right.
I'll say, I see Mark Howell, who's are you our liaison, our select board?
I'm not the select board liaison to this committee. I am on the select board. I just thought I'd weigh in because I've chaired a number of committees and clerked others, and it's a requirement of the town policies that there be a clerk. There's supposed to be a clerk for each meeting, and that clerk is supposed to be in the membership. Some committees do have staff support that actually churns out the minutes. They are a burden. However, they're also not optional. And they're part, and you know, the production of minutes is part of the open meeting law. So I'm very supportive of the idea that you should be addressing this, probably with your chair and your full board. I would note that, you know, at least based on what I'm seeing on the screen, elects a chair and a clerk, I assume is in the existing membership administrative code for this committee. And so if you take the vote you're discussing taking, you're not actually talking about, you're not doing anything to the clerk situation. You're talking about whether you're supporting the alternate members idea.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Nancy?
You're welcome.
I was just going to say this problem of late minutes extends for many committees, including Mark. The select board minutes are often not immediately available or even soon available. So it is a big burden, and I personally think I would not do it. I would not be in a committee where I had to take minutes. So it is a lot to ask, and it's a lot to ask staff when they're not staffed up for that function. And I'm very interested in the person who's begun to take minutes for the historical commission, because they're 1 or 2 pages and it meets the demand. I'm not sure it meets everybody's need to know what really happened in a meeting, and that's why I'm often looking at the Minuteman Media Network videos. But that's a lot of time to go back over a meeting, so it's a problem.
Maybe increasing the number of alternate members will help this problem, because that would give an alternate member someone, you know, give them some a task to do that they would have time to do.
Well, it might discourage alternate members from joining.
Well, at first, you know, if we had 10 people associated with this, that would mean if you did it the way Peter and I would suggest, that would just be 1 every 10 months. I mean, that is not nearly so onerous as doing it every single month.
Yeah, like going back and looking at the minutes that we have, I can't remember what happened in June. So reading them tonight, we're going to review that tonight. And if we outsource that, someone did that who doesn't know us, who doesn't attend our meetings, we're just relying on that person. So, you know, and I'm not going to go back and spend an hour listening to those 3 meetings, you know, June, July, and August. I'm just not going, I'm not going to do that. And so
I take very careful notes whenever I'm in a meeting. So that's my answer for myself in terms of knowing what happened in the meeting.
Right, and we do outsource it, but then the staff does review it, and of course I am here at every single meeting, and I take notes as well.
Well, okay, so I think I would propose that at the January whatever 11th, whatever it is, the next meeting of the Historical Commission with our chair in place, that this be on the agenda, and we discuss how best the minutes should be taken. I gather we should elect a clerk, if that's, you know, something we just, as far as I know, has never been done. I mean, I'm gonna call elect Trich, who was a chair a while ago and for several years, but I don't think even when she was there, they had a clerk. Is that fair?
I think that's correct, because I was on the commission when Electa was chair.
And many committees, to be fair, do in fact rotate, as Peter was mentioning. So they don't have an actual clerk, but they may have the task of not deciding who's going to clerk at each meeting. The Climate Action Committee, who met last night, Tuesday night, does exactly that.
You know, I was the clerk of the trustees library corporation for years, and I hated it. Every month I had to do them. Point out, and I no longer became clerk. Fred Lovejoy, who is the senior medical officer of Children's Hospital in Boston, became the clerk. And Fred got those minutes in within 2 days. So it can be done.
Yeah.
So To be continued.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we move on? We're not gonna take a vote on that because we have to discuss it next month, but the next issue, rethinking historical markers. Before we talk about the tercentenary markers, this is what I was asking you, Anne. The survey update, I'm not sure what.
Nancy Frisella Lee had asked to provide a short survey update. So
Okay.
it's on the agenda.
Yeah, I asked, but really I don't actually, because the tercentenary marker issue has taken up so much of my time that I have not worked recently very much on. I'm always working on it. I'm always sort of adding things as I pass things on the street or have time. But I have not been working on that. The interesting thing is Anne has a proposal. Can I talk about your proposal today, or can we not bring that up about putting it up on our website, Anne?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, I feel like we could at least, I know that the select board voted to get the groups together, and that hasn't happened. But in the meantime, you know, in Waltham, staff would have just put something up saying we are rethinking our historical markers, so that at least there's something that the public, you know, can look to, even if it has no answers, it just says that we are looking into this. You know, that would be a first step. And I personally don't see any harm in doing that first step, but I wanted to see how you all felt about it, because obviously I'm not going to take any action that doesn't involve you all, you know, especially with something that is potentially so controversial. In Waltham, we probably would have addressed it a long time ago before it became controversial. But Concord is not Waltham, and I know that there is even a more intense public process here. So
yeah, so what Anne is talking about, so
possibility, and yeah,
is creating on our webpage that she would post documents about the markers, so that would include
not even at this point. I would just say
statement.
They have a statement, and you have a draft statement.
Markers.
I guess we're not prepared to read the draft statement, right?
Can I just talk about it though? Because Anne just told me about this today, and I think it's a really good idea. Anne showed me a short statement that she put together quickly. It's called Rethinking Historical Markers. And it's just a general statement about what historical markers are, how some are really wonderful and truthful, how some become outdated, or like the tercentenary markers are in effect or offensive, or that some markers become outdated because there's new evidence, new factual information that's uncovered, and so they no longer serve their purpose of being educationally positive and useful. And then she said, it says at the end, learn more in the upcoming months as plans develop to address problematic cultural markers. And the reason I really like that, we are now embarking on our historic preservation project, and that is something that has been already accepted, and that's on our website. And so it's notifying the public of what we're doing. As many of you know, I have been frustrated with the process of the tercentenary markers, because as I've worked on it. We had an agreed process that I was going to research them and have a process we were going to present it. Our commission was going to present it to the select board in a very structured way, so to show that we had the backing for that. And what's happened with the process, it got derailed, and it went out of the historical commission's hands. And when I saw this statement of Anne's, I thought, oh, this is the key. This is what I've been looking for, because I think the town doesn't know that we've been working on this. And so all of the reports in the newspaper, and there have been now some editorials, opinions in the newspaper that I am disappointed to see. And I read them, and it says, the town has not thought of this. They've not weighed this properly. And it's been an emotional reaction, not a thought out one. And I think, wow, I spent the whole year researching these, and I have written a long report, a very rational report. And no one knows about that. So I loved this because I thought, wow, this is a really positive way of putting it on, saying the Historical Commission, it's, in other words, this statement says that we're going to start looking into it. This statement could be retrospective and say, we've been actually working on this since January. This project started in January 2023, and it takes time. It's something that takes a lot of time, and so keep reading our website, because we will have updates. And to me, that solves a problem that I've had, because I wrote this report and we are trying to figure out what to do with it. It hasn't gone to the committees in, in a timely way. The HDC discussed it and they never even saw my report. People were saying at the meeting, what are you talking about? What markers? And I thought, wow, this is not collaboration. It's the reverse of collaboration. And I just would love to see this, because to me, it's doing exactly what you're doing with your statement right on our website of the historic preservation project. I don't know what other people think.
Thank you. Because I don't know, Anne, I don't know the procedure here. It was, if something isn't stated on the agenda, but this sort of is on the agenda, to share the statement with us now, or would you think it's better to do it next month? I don't know the protocol on this one.
If you're, actually, I would love to hear from Joe and Mark Howell and how you feel about, us sharing a draft text, and Ryan,
As a commission member, I was going to hope to jump in here. If we're talking about voting on specific language that we would be putting up as a public statement, I think that we need to have that as part of our materials to be considered for our next meeting. So I would strongly recommend that this document be fully drafted in the language that you're comfortable with, given to all the commission members for review, and that we come prepared as we need to vote on it at another meeting.
Thank you. I would feel better, because it usually, we should post this stuff in advance. People should have the opportunity to read it. I did see it just this afternoon, but that was the first I saw it, so I'm pretty sure other people haven't. But I
wanted to check with Nancy Frizzella-Lee too, just because, she has been working on this for a year. So, we should be working together. We should all be in agreement.
Yeah, and I suspect Alan hasn't seen it.
Yeah,
he saw it briefly.
Okay.
But right.
But other commissioners have not seen it.
No,
yet.
I'm just bringing it up as the start. I'm not saying that we should do anything tonight. I'm just saying, because Anne showed me something and I've been very busy today, so I did script something else out and just send it as an example. And I think it would be good for us all to have time to review it. I just think that this is another really positive thing. I think that our commission really needs to do something for 2025, and we are doing this historic preservation project. I think that's wonderful. I think that the markers and monument survey, I think that's going to be targeted to 2025 deadline. I'm trying to finish it. I'll try to finish it this year. So I think this would be a great contribution for our commission as a group to make. And a big effort of that is to say, and I forgot to say this, is that we are also reevaluating. It's not just we're doing the survey. A major part of it is that we are reevaluating our messaging, our public messaging, and historic markers, because it's not just the tercentenary markers that are problematic. There are others that need to address, and that's what I'm in this for. This is about education. It's about letting people know how history has changed, how historical interpretation has changed, and that's the really important aspect of this project. And I think that needs to get out there, and it hasn't. And it's really painful for me to read these opinion columns in the paper, because to me it just shows that no one knows what we've been doing, and I'm very, very sad about that.
Well, I know Alan, Mark, you should speak. I just would like to say that I think to me, Dennis Fiore said it all when he said, a year ago, you could ask somebody, do you know we have tercentenary markers in downtown Concord? And they would have said, what are you talking about? I think we have already done a service by bringing this to the public fore. Maybe it's clumsy, maybe it's been messy, maybe feelings have been hurt, all of the above. But we finally have got people paying attention, and that is a win.
I agree.
Get off my little soapbox. So Mark, yes.
I'm going to jump in, and I may lose my battery because my laptop's not doing that great. And I don't have my charger with me, so that's me. Anyway, thank you for the work. Thank you particularly for Nancy. I think it's really important that the work that's been done, work in progress, in fact, does get put on the commission's website. Draft work is perfectly accessible. I know when I first started to educate myself about this, I could not find that information and it wasn't easily available. So please do that. I really want to encourage this meeting, and I'm very sorry to see that your chairperson's not here, but please nominate one or two of your members to step forward, work with the DEI Commission, and I'm happy to host and sponsor this myself. From the select board's perspective, let's get the community dialogue going as soon as possible about what's going to happen to these markers, what we want to do. And I do hope that the preservation plan helps us to create a roadmap for more thoughtful dialogue, not only for these markers, but for all markers and future markers as well, in terms of understanding how there are understandings of all of this can evolve over time. I want to publicly apologize to the commission for getting out in front of you on this work. I would much have preferred to be more familiar and come forward with that. And so from that perspective, I just wanted to say that, and thank you again for your work, and please let me know as soon as possible. My understanding is, and frankly, it's not my preference, but my understanding is the state has now indicating that should we want to remove the signs, we could. I've never been clear that that was necessarily the best course of action. I think of that as being somewhat precipitous and, extreme. And frankly, I proposed covering them at first because I thought that a message along the lines of the one that's been discussed this evening that says work in progress, we need to think about this, is more accurate about where we are.
Yeah.
So thank you for considering it, and please let me know as soon as this board has chosen some of its membership to work with the DEI Commission as in conjunction with the motion that the select board passed to start the community dialogue around what the community would like to see for this.
Thank you. Well, again, I don't know if we could ask for volunteers for the membership, or is this something Alan needs to do? I'm a little at sea here because he's not here.
I think it requires Alan to be here, part of this.
Well, I mean, to me, I would just look to you, Nancy Frizella Lee. You have already done so much work. It seems you would be the logical person, representative from the Historical Commission, to work with the DEI. I know you already go to some of their meetings.
I would certainly, of course, I would love to do that, but if other people want to, I think other people should join in too. I'd be thrilled about that. But if you want to wait to Alan, I already have attended some of the DEI meetings already. So
I did one.
when they're talking about the markers, I want to be there because I, vested my time in it. And so I want to collaborate.
Joe?
Just concur with Nancy and Mark, and am I on? Sorry, yeah. And Alan's reached out to me just this week saying that he'll be back on Wednesday so that the two commission chairs and Andrea, we can talk, but the goal is to do exactly that. As soon as you have who you have, we'll get two people or one person or whatever and get started with Mark hosting so we can start this conversation. We're ready to go when you are. As soon as you're ready, we're ready to go.
Okay, well then I don't know Robert's Rules of Order about something like this. So Mark, I might defer to you, but if there's no objection from other members of the commission, it seems to me Nancy Frizella Lee ought to be the person from our commission who serves on this. This is kind of an ad hoc committee, right? That members of the
committee, or is it a discussion?
The idea that I had certainly was to just map out how we start a community dialogue. Eventually, the hope would be that both the DEI Commission and the Historical Commission would eventually agree to sponsor the same, ultimate resolution, but only after we've had a community process that tries to discern what that is.
Okay, so it's really a discussion group.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, okay. Well, if unless there's any, I don't know that we need a vote.
I see Nancy was shaking her head, so.
Why
Where are you? I'm looking for you. About, I just also wanted to ask, Ann, is there an update about, that you can report to the committee about Mass DOT's position? Is there something new that hasn't been reported to in our public hearing?
Good question.
I'm sorry, was that to me or to Mark?
Yeah, to you. I just am asking if there's any new information that needs to be shared.
Actually, it sounds as if Mark has more information than I do. I was just going to report what I know. And I was told it was okay to share this. It's not confidential, that the town council has reached out to the state. And I know that we were asked, the planning division was asked for a map. And so we provided that map. And so my understanding was the state was considering that. So it's just that there have been official communications between Town of Concord attorneys and the state. That's all I knew. And then also, I had permission from my supervisors to also do the sort of official communication to the Hassanamisco Nipmuc band, because I'll just share this information. I only know how to be honest. I don't know how to be any other way. So with our historic preservation plan, I had lined up a Indigenous scholar who is Nipmuc, but she actually backed out once she heard about this controversy about the markers. She thought it was, she thought that Indigenous people should have been a part of the conversation before these decisions were made by the town of Concord, that it should have involved them. They should have had a seat at the table.
Yes.
And also, so that was one piece of it. And the other piece of it was that also that it could get messy, and that she, as an individual, she could not speak for her tribe. And so she recommended that we go to the tribal leaders. And so another man from that same group, the Hassanamisco Nipmuc band, he is serving on the task force for the Warner's Pond committee, and he also recommended that we reach out to the chief. And fortunately, he was a teacher here in the middle schools of Concord for back in the 1990s. So he's got this passion for Concord, and really was trying to make those connections for us, because Indigenous people are in high demand, right? They get a lot of requests, but we're working on those relationships. And as you've all been hearing, those true long-term relationships that are sincere are something that they are looking for, and I hope that we provide that. So we don't have a new consultant yet lined up, but we're working on it with the tribal leaders.
Nancy?
Anne, could you tell us who that person is? Some of us might know who it is, might know that person.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair actually to share her name.
No, the
No, you
person
mean
that
the
was
guy.
recommended
Oh, okay.
to the
Yeah, I
tribal
don't have it
leader.
offhand,
Whoever it
but
is.
I can share it afterward. I don't
Okay,
have it in front of me.
okay.
I don't feel comfortable sharing the name of the person who
Just for clarity, we always want to mention that a member of the DI Commission is Jimmy Two Feathers, who is both identifies as Nipmuc and Wampanoag. Although that's not the complete answer, we just have to be careful to say that the town did not involve an Indigenous voice in this decision. We just have to be careful when we say that. Jimmy has opinions, was involved as a member of the DI Commission, and has been a long-time Indigenous resident of Concord.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to just, correct one thing that Anne has said, and hopefully I'm coming through okay, because I had to switch to my phone. But the membership of the Warner's Pond Task Force has not been established. That charge has not been put in place, and there is nobody who serves on that task force as of yet. There may have been some discussion about names of people or individuals that may have been eventually approached to serve on that, but that is still a work in progress at the Natural Resources Commission.
I apologize for that. I didn't know.
Nancy?
Oh, can I just add one other quick thing? So my understanding from speaking with the town manager this week is that this state DOT has in fact responded that the town of Concord could remove the signs when we're ready to do that. I'm not sure whether that is absolutely the final word or whether the town council wanted to do some more checking, but we do at least have in hand a response from DOT.
Nancy, you had a question?
Yeah, I don't have a question. I forgot to say something. I just want everyone to know that when I first presented my research in September and heard comments from the commission, I talked about my efforts to try to reach out to the Native American community and to get support for this. I also have a relationship with the Concord Museum, and they have worked with Indigenous people on their Musquetequid gallery, and I had very good advice from them. And I knew that that it was going to be difficult to start a relationship. And that's why I was nervous about that, because I knew that it was going to take time. It's not just instant. And I thought, if there was pressure to continue on with this effort, but I thought if I was to do that properly, we would have to wait months, and I was willing to do that, but that then didn't happen. In the meantime, I have been going to several conferences. I went to one very important one at the Radcliffe Institute a few weeks ago, and I made a really good effort to make contacts. And I have been talking to someone, and he is a high profile person. I think I can say his name. His name is Tobias Vanderhoop. He is reading my research, and I've been very careful. I said, I'm not a Native American scholar. I have, I embarked on this project just without any previous background in Native American studies, and I wanted to know that. And I said I tried to be careful, and I would really appreciate his comments. And he's taking his time. We have been emailing back and forth, so I'm excited about that. I hope that he does get back to me. And I've also had some other conversations with people, and there is someone who's actually interested in making a documentary film about it. I'm not sure that I should be saying this, but I am going to say it. And I don't know if that will come to pass, but this is not just a Concord issue. It's really a statewide issue. And for me, that's why it's been so interesting for me. I've just learned so much this year. It's been a great project for me. I think that if we do take it down, it might be a great model for other communities. And I hope that the town also learns more about our Native American history, because there's a lot that is not known, and a lot of really important things that really need to be known, and we need to figure out how to do that. I'd love our commission to sponsor a conference, for example, an evening of talks. I don't know if you're willing to do that. I've been thinking about that a lot, and I just think that there will be a lot of interest in that, because I've seen a lot of interest everywhere, and there's no reason why we just couldn't have a symposium, an educational symposium.
I think it would be excellent. We're not there yet. I mean, I can imagine that, speaking with several hats, the League of Women Voters would be very interested in co-sponsoring it along with the library. I can't, Emily's not here, but I would suspect she'd be very interested in doing it at the Goodwin Forum and with the DEI Commission. I mean, I think
we have a budget.
I don't know that, well, it would be, but I do think, I think that that's inevitable, it seems to me, in order to get it out to the public, to know what Concord takes this very seriously, but we're trying to do our homework and do it properly. Because we hope to be a leader in this. Joe?
We've been in early communication with the Upstander project. You should take a look at it. they're based in Boston. They've done a lot of work around the with some of the tribes that were in Massachusetts, but was a part of Maine at that time. And they've got a great documentary you may have seen called Bounty, about the bounties that were placed on many of the indigenous people of that part of Massachusetts. So we're in talks with them about bringing that documentary and viewing. So it's good to know that you want to collaborate. That might be a nice sort of thing we could do together between the Historical Commission, the DEI, the library, and have an evening with the screening and a discussion.
That's great.
That'd be great.
Okay, so we're to be continued. I'll move on to the, having talked about the Warner's Pond Task Force, my understanding that, Mark, helped me here, but I think that they wanted a member of the Historical Commission to serve on the task force.
That's certainly in the draft charge. And so is my takeaway that you guys are, for the moment, detailing Nancy to at least start the procedural dialogue? Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. And yes, back to Warner's Pond. The NRC is hoping to finalize the draft charge on the December 27th meeting. There will be a revised version of the charge published before that. Right now, if you go to the NRC's webpage, current meeting documents, you can find two versions. The most recent revision was the one they discussed at their meeting last week. And there was some input about some potential further changes on that. So anybody that's interested in that. But I think that, again, if you can begin talking about who might be put forward to serve in that group, that would be great.
Okay, thank you. Well, well, not everybody's here. And this makes it even more important, seems to me, that we have, I don't know if you'd have to have a full member serve on this, but that we had all five alternates. We have 3 more spaces, because I think a number of us have already got kind of responsibilities within the commission. So I'm looking, I would like to see us bring on some more people, and perhaps one of those folks could be someone who is from the West Concord community. I don't know, who may have a little bit more knowledge or understanding of this. It doesn't require that, certainly. Any thoughts from other members of the commission about who might be a good person? Who among us?
I agree with your idea to expand the alternate members and save a spot for the Historical Commission on the Warner's Pond.
Okay. Okay.
Some of it, like you said, I think some current members are deep into some other facet of historic preservation.
And so I hope that's okay. I know Alan is actively reaching out to people. I think Alan, and I could work with you on do a quick press release. What day is today? It's not gonna, so it'd go in next week's paper, but
I have an excellent person to recommend too, so.
Okay, so please send it on to Alan, and also that person should make sure they fill out the green card, which is, on just do it electronically.
Volunteer card.
Yeah.
Right, and I know that Elizabeth and Peter are recommending that we consider being a certified local government to bring in more state funds to the Historical Commission. And as part of that, you have to prove that that your group is qualified. That and so they do have recommendations for the types of professionals that you invite. So we can certainly, it says to the extent that they're available in the community, but I think that would need to be a part of the description too. Obviously we're looking for architects and historians, landscape architects, right, like people with design backgrounds.
Okay, well,
that has a similar description too, so. Yeah.
Well, we put that into the press release. I mean, I would agree. You want people who have they don't just love Concord.
Right.
Yeah.
They have to bring expertise to the table too.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm pushing that can down the road a little bit, but I do think, we're not prepared. I don't think we're prepared right now to nominate somebody. So now we get to everyone's favorite part, the minutes. We had 3 sets
Oh,
of.
and actually one
Oh.
more thing, sorry.
Yep.
Other business, the scenic road rules and regulations.
Oh, yes, well, oh, yes, I do. So I
That's the
want
next round of
everybody,
review.
it's, it will become before the planning board, I believe it's January 30th. They will be asking if we would participate, I think, in their meeting, as many of us as you can. But prior to that, they are available on the planning board website. We actually should put them on our website too.
They're on our website.
Okay.
Yes.
They have done a lot of work on these. You know, we got to propose the bylaw, get it passed, and they have to do all the work. Is kind of how it's happened, which is, but I think that we owe them a very thorough reading of those. So this needs to be a part of the next month's agenda. And then again, I don't know if it's a joint meeting. I just think they're asking if members of the commission, certainly Alan, I should be there for the January 30th planning board meeting.
Yeah.
Because we need to adopt them because they're not, it's been over a year, well over a year. So thank you for reminding us. So now can we go to the minutes?
Yeah, sorry.
So we had 3 sets of minutes. The first set, June 8th, 2023. I did have an observation. I was not there, and yet I was listed as voting, so I would like that corrected. Are there any other in notes or changes for the June 8th minutes? Anybody?
Are you on June? Hang on. I did read them. I'm just trying to find my. No, I didn't have any on that. No.
Anyone else? So can I have a motion for to approve as amended the June 8th, 2023 minutes? Hello?
Repeat the question.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 8th, 2023 as amended?
So moved.
And a second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ryan, do you have a vote?
I'll vote yes to keep things
Oh, I
moving.
can't vote.
I feel some guilt about voting on minutes for a meeting that I did not attend, but recognizing that we would not otherwise have quorum, and having read the minutes and finding them wholly unobjectionable and I assume truthful, I'm happy to vote yes to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Well, he could also not vote and I could vote.
Can I abstain and then have you vote formally?
No, you can't do it that way. It's
No.
when he's not present. He is present. So you can't take his vote. He's,
Oh,
you
well,
would
he
be,
can abstain, couldn't he?
yeah, but that doesn't mean you can vote.
Oh,
But there are 5 full members and there are only 3 in front of us. So I think Nancy could fill in for another full member.
Oh, could she? Okay.
I could also
If you
conveniently
allow
sign off
that.
here for a second
I just would
early
like to get the minutes
and solve the whole
approved
problem.
because Ryan, we can never
Well, Jesse's there
recreate
too, huh?
the meeting with you there. So we just need to move the minutes along.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll vote for the minutes. I vote for the minutes. Yes.
So where
Okay.
are we?
Check. So that's one down. So the minutes of July 13, 2023. Are there any changes, amendments, corrections for those minutes?
No.
So can I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 13, 2023?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. And then finally, the minutes of August 10th, 2023.
I didn't have time to review the video about this, but I want to be certain that I said that my comments were the ones that were recorded.
About the 106?
Yeah, I just want to be clear about
Okay.
that, so.
Okay, well, I think
I'm sorry to ask if that could be. at the
well, then
next
we will just push those off, okay, for the August 10 minutes to the January, I'm sorry, whatever, well, I don't know, January,
The next meeting.
the next meeting.
Yeah, basically, I'm very skeptical that I referred to road widening. And I want to make sure if I committed to photos, I'm not sure, but the road widening is really not, there's not going to be road widening.
I don't think you would have said that because it's not going to happen.
So, but I want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, so if there are no other issues to discuss, I think we can adjourn the meeting and thank our visitors or guests who will become very familiar to us, Elizabeth and Peter. Thank you for sitting in. This is one of the longest meetings we've had. But there's some pretty sensitive material and a lot of important stuff that we take on. So thank you all for coming, and we will see you next year.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
Bye.
Everybody,
Holidays, everybody.
bye.
Oops.